Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a good day today. Today, I'm going to be experimenting and practicing with some glass pens. Like many of my art supplies, I was lucky enough to receive these guys as a gift. Not only are they super cool looking, I think they're super interesting to draw with. They're kind of like a mix between a fountain pen and a really fine watercolor brush, so it's been interesting trying to get the hang of it. I think it's called a well, where the ink is stored, is a super cool little trick. It took me a while to figure out how to actually put the ink in the pen, but now that I know how it works, I think it's so magical looking. Initially, I didn't know what kind of ink to buy. It came with some super fancy ones that are all shimmery and pretty, and I wanted to save them before I started using them so that I could practice first. I don't want to waste all the pretty ones, so I went and bought some more plain inks to play around with. But at first I think they were alcohol inks, and they stuck to the pen, so I had to clean the pen, and I learned that way, okay, nobody use alcohol inks with a glass pen. I tried a few different inks with the pen, and I found that any ink that was heavier than pretty much just watercolors would would get stuck. So I super suggest, if you get one, to stock up on some watercolor inks that you like. I used two different glass pens for this drawing. The first one had a much finer nib and could do much finer lines. It was a little bit scratchy on the paper. Maybe I'm using it wrong, but it was a little scratchier, but I like the lines of this one a lot. You could do some really thin stuff, and then later on I use a thicker one, and it's much smoother to use, but you can't get the lines quite as thin. So I like that guy for filling stuff in, or of course if you need thicker lines. I'm not really sure if there's like a measurement system for the fineness of a glass pen nib, or if it's something that they keep up with. I'm not sure. I'm just playing around here. If you have any information on glass pens I should know about, feel free to let me know, because I'm just messing around. These do really tell on you if you're somebody who rests their hand on the paper. You gotta be super careful for smudging before everything dries. I smudged quite a few things during this drawing. I'm not too worried about it though, that's what practice is for. This is a little different than what I'd normally draw, but I think it's fun to see what new supplies make you try. They make you step out of your comfort zone a little bit, and you might learn something new about yourself, or your style, or what you like. I don't know, I usually use pencil, so shading's a little different. But it was fun to see where this went as it went. I also think it's pretty cool, like, if you only have a few colors, to see what you do with it. It makes you be more creative if you have limitations, because gotta do some problem solving. Normally I like really soft colors and gentle shading, but with ink, with this red and black ink, I couldn't do that today, so I tried something new. And it's okay to mess up when you try new things. I think it's kind of fun to see the end result if you just push through it and give yourself the chance to see what happens. There were a few points I considered starting over with this one. I got super mad at the hair for a minute in the beginning, but it turned out okay. I'm glad that I finished it at least. It was a good experience. At least every time you mess up, you have the potential to learn something new. I learned, I don't know, I learned how the water control is different with these pens. You have to really watch what blobs together if you touch it, and your lines need to be separated. You gotta watch how much water's on the pen itself, or it'll go places you don't want it to if you're not careful. But it's all practice. You just gotta get the feel for it. I often think back, like when looking at a finished piece, to whatever I was listening to while I was drawing it. I'm sure you guys are the same, but it's funny. It's like a little flashback to whatever I was listening to. I don't really listen to music often while I draw. I find it affects my mood too much. I like listening to story times or true crime stuff, which can be a little grim, but it's interesting. I like to put TV shows on too, but I get distracted too much. I'll find myself having not drawn anything for a good 10 minutes just watching what's happening. It's not as efficient, but it's fun. I've been on a big scary movie binge lately. I'm just going through Netflix and watching all of them, and Hulu, whatever's good or bad. I'm going through it all. If you guys know any you suggest, I'd love to know. So far I keep finding myself rewatching The Witch. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's really atmospheric and spooky, but not in like a gore and jump scare way, but in like a scary folklore way. It's a good one. And I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I do have to say it has the second most ominous rabbit to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Some of my other favorite scary movies are, let's see, The Ritual, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and As Above, So Below was so good to me. I don't know if you guys are into horror like I am, but dang, I like that one a lot. I guess after I've watched something a few times, I can draw to it, now that I think of it. It's like I know what happens, I don't have to look. I just like having it on. If I'm feeling less spooky, I like cute kids shows or movies. I also like funny TV shows, but it's hard to draw to something when you're captivated by it. With this drawing, I was watching some true crime stuff. It's easy to binge watch and then be too spooked to go get your mail. Like, what if my Amazon driver's actually a murderer dressed as an Amazon driver? Anyway, this hair I think was the most tedious part of this, but I like how it turned out the best. Well, second to the eyes. I think the eyes are my favorite part of how this whole thing ended up turning out, but the hair was satisfying to complete. I didn't really go in with too many expectations since it was supposed to be just experimental and practice, so it was fun to not worry about it. It was just to see. It was an adventure in glass pennery. I think this pen would be really good for people that like calligraphy. It feels like a nice calligraphy piece to add to your collection, or people that do pointillism I have a lot of respect for. That takes so much time, but it looks so cool. There's a lot of different ink artists I follow. I love how it looks. I don't know, I haven't pursued it as much. But it's super neat, it's fun. If anything, I found this relaxing. If you just like doodling, it might be fun to add one of these to your collection. I thought it'd be cool to learn to do some kind of like older style illustrations with this thing. Like I said in my last video, I love botanical art and like, I don't know, even weird medieval art. There's a lot of stuff you can do with an ink pen. My only other inks I've used in the past, which I really liked, were the Copic markers. They're super different though. They're felt tip and more blendable, whereas this sort of thing seems much more for line work and, like I said, maybe calligraphy or pointillism, or I don't know, if you like drawing with fine lines and creating depth that way, this is a super neat tool, and it looks like some cool magical elves made it. This is definitely the most magical piece in my collection. Any art supply that can be mistaken for a magic wand is definitely fine by me. I wonder how many little lines are in this hair. It took a while. I know it's nothing compared to what a lot of people do, but I'm not used to drawing so many lines. Here I use some of the shiny ink I was talking about in the beginning, some of the fancier stuff. It's got a shimmer to it, and I thought it'd be cool in the eyes. I wanted to see what would happen if I built it up, like took the time to let it dry and then did another layer, but while I waited for it to dry, I gave her some little mushroom spots on her cheeks. I like adding mushroom spots to things. I think they're like, well, first they started out as deer spots when I started doing them, and then I liked freckles, and then I was like, what if I just mushroomed up everything? Mushrooms have the cutest freckles anyway. It's kind of fun watching things dry in this, like the time lapse, because in real time you don't really notice it, but that first eye is already dried. I like the little mushrooms. I mean, they're nothing advanced, but they turned out kind of cute to me. When I'm drawing stuff like this, I'm like, if people have freckles, could dryads grow little mushrooms? There's more mushroom spots. At this point, I was pleasantly surprised that it did layer well after I let it dry. There's a lot of, like, it's like with watercolors, you have to give it time to dry if you want to do some color layering. I figured I'd add a few to the little tops of her ears to blend it all together, even though I smudged the right one. Oopsie. But that's okay. Like I mentioned, it's just practice. It's just for fun. And that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. I think it's easy to get worked up when you're trying something new, and it's okay to just mess around. Just adding some more little shading. I don't really know what I'm doing here. Just seeing how far it'll go. I thought that I'd color the background in red, which I realized is tricky with a tiny nibbed pen, but I did it anyway. I just thought it would tie it all together, and it got a little messy, but like I said, it's okay, just for fun. I wonder if next time, like, you could use a brush for this sort of thing, since it's pretty much just liquid watercolors. Maybe you could use a brush to fill in a background with this ink. It's a lot of trial and error. I didn't find many glass pen videos on the YouTubes when I first started. When I first got my pen, I did some googling, but I couldn't find too many. Like, nothing really on technique, just people kind of doing this and trying them, but most of them are more familiar with ink than me. Oops. So I figured the best way to figure it out was just by practicing. And you can see, like, as the patches dry, some of them blend together better than others, doing it this way. If you're going for something kind of interesting and textured, this could be really interesting. Like, it's kind of patchworky, which could suit some drawings. I guess I know if I need that look in the future, I can use this cool pen to do it. It has inspired me to maybe give calligraphy a try, now that I have something fun to practice it with, and maybe I could incorporate it into my other artworks. If anyone out there likes calligraphy and has used a glass pen for it, I'd love to know what your experience was. It seems pretty fun. By the end here, I was just trying to see, like, if different shapes would dry together differently, or like if different scribbles would dry differently. All in all, I really enjoy this new pen, and I really hope to learn how to use it better in the future, and maybe it'll help make my line work more clean and just overall stronger. I highly suggest getting one if you're someone who likes line work and cool pens that look like magic wands. I really appreciate you stopping by and watching my video. Here's my finished piece. Please follow me on Instagram, Twitter, subscribe and like if you like my video. See you next time.